Tonight, tonight, tonight. Blow the ceiling off the party to the moon. See my partner jaws locking, ain't no telling what he on. Bitches up tonight. I think you back, jaws locking.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
My closet door almost fell.
Okay, y'all. This is me in the future editing. What the fuck I said was, I've been trying to watch his videos on the channel for a while, but every time I got to it, the project just ended up failing. So this is probably my last time trying to watch a video from Mugi. I think this is GrandLineReview, and record it because stuff just happens afterwards. So I hope y'all enjoy the reaction, and I hope y'all pleased with the video. See y'all later.
Three gods have just come face to face and are about to begin a battle that risks destroying the world as we know it. That's not even hyperbole, although that is kind of the point if we are to believe the Harley prophecy. So I guess we're destroying the world, everything is going according to plan. But around this plan, we have Usopp versus Emu, and there's something very, very special about one Tony Chopper who seems to innately possess
Usopp versus Emu. Of all the straw hats, to me, Emu first. It's Usopp. That's the craziest. Which I think is Brook first. Or what is straw hats? I want to read the manga, but I don't feel like reading the manga.
That's the counter to Domi Reversi. Fascinating stuff there. There's a lot of great moments in this chapter though, and as soon as the fighting begins, we have a pretty damn impactful one where Dory's shield gets skewered by one of the Domi Reversi members of his crew, and this strike also punctures his arm, which leaves Dory significantly wounded. On the last page, you can see that he's only holding his sword with his right hand, and his left is just all floppy and low. And this is almost exactly what I suspected would happen. As in the previous chapter, it was highlighted that Broggy's arm injury was permanent because Emu blew it off with his magic gun right before initiating Domi Reversi. And I said that this does not bode well for Dory because Dory and Broggy, they are strict narrative equals. So if Broggy gets permanently injured, then Dory is likely to incur a similar injury. And so now he has. And look, I don't know if it'll be permanent because unlike Broggy, at least Dory still has his arm, and we do have Chopper on the island who could work some miracle to heal Dory. But as of right now, both Dory and Broggy have lost the use of their left arms. Which is also a very classic One Piece thing. Oda always gets rid of the left arm. Shanks, Eustace Kid, Basil Hawkins, etc. If someone loses an arm in One Piece, it's always going to be the left one. But this is the sort of thing that may push Dory and Broggy into retiring as co-captains of the giant warrior pirates and taking on more of an elder role like Yorl and Jarl had. You know, that realization that their days of peak battle may be over and that it's time to hand their will over to the new giant warrior pirates led by Haradin. And perhaps even co-captained by Haradin and Loki if we continue the theme of duality that goes back to at least Yorl and Jarl. Two gents who are known for accomplishing just about everything, with the key exception of innovating award-winning flavor, which is why we need the sponsor of today's video, Fume. A flavored air device with no vapor, no nicotine, and no batteries. Just magnificent flavored air in a super sleek package, made for relieving your daily stresses and something to upgrade your habit loop. Fume is just flavor.
With
Dory also accusing his former crewmates of submitting the immortal body. It means nothing to a giant Velboff, because in this form the giant warrior pirates have lost their pride. There's not a single thing they could gain to make up for that. And so Dory, Broggy, Haradin, Stanson, and Zoro then obliterate their initial targets, making sure to deal unquestionably lethal damage so that Domi Reversi is dispelled and the giant warrior pirates return to normal. And this is actually quite a rare action montage by Oda. It's not very often.
Okay. Okay, since Dory and Broggy went from demon form, or demon went from possessed to unpossessed, I feel like or some people may feel like Zabek. I mean, Rocks is still alive. But I liked it at first where once you beat somebody with hockey, or after they, I like it that when they beat you after you possess, you die.
If ever, that he will draw his protagonist just flat out murdering people. You've got Harid, Dory, Broggy, and Stanson. They're all bisecting dudes, just plunking them in half. Like, top parts of their bodies are just flying right off. But the really shocking one is Zoro, because his attack essentially explodes a dude's skull, chopping it up into nice, manageable chunks as if he's dicing ingredients for some delicious roast brain. But it's panels like this that make you appreciate just how much Zoro has to hold back in regular combat, because we've never seen him go for such a surgically fatal move like this. Not even when situations are life or death for him, like during any slobby or the raid on Onigashima. However, here, his restrictions, they have been lifted. Zoro is properly liberated. Those giants think they're liberated. No, they're not. Because now the king of hell is free to toy with these demons as he sees fit, which our king celebrates by whipping out a new attack. This one is called Aka Oni Okomega, which has been translated as Red Ogre Mega Fury. But I feel like that last part will probably be different.
Since Zoro is now named the King of Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if later on, when it comes to find out on One Piece, Brook and Zoro is going to be our duo for the team when they split up.
Will be different in the.
Matter of fact, if we were to give them a team, okay, somebody, be right back. Sorry, y'all. I done got so distracted.
The official translation. However, the
Red Ogre name is a reference to Broggy, of course, whose epithet is the Red Ogre, just as Dory's is the Blue Ogre. So I suppose this is Zoro making sure that Broggy's crew feel the full force of their captain's wrath after daring to submit to another. And of course, it also opens up the potential that Zoro may develop a Blue Ogre attack as well, because as I keep saying, Dory and Broggy narrative equal, so if one gets a special Zoro attack, then it makes sense for the other to get one as well. Or maybe Blue Ogre becomes a Sanji attack with a free jumper. But one last note about this section before we move on. Right at the beginning of the chapter, Oda takes some time to show us the children of Elbaf, with Colin and all of the kids being in
This creator couldn't wait to get home when he was unexpectedly caught in an awkward progressive ad.
Nobody likes waiting. New custom.
being in absolute awe of what they are seeing, which is a big deal. Remember that at the start of Elbaf, all of the kids were making fun of Colin for wanting to be a warrior, but now I guarantee you that each and every one of them are enamored with the spirit of Elbaf. It's a panel that's easy to look over, but characters like Colin are the Dorys and or the Broggies of the next generation. He and the rest of the kids are going to grow up to become the big names of the future, mostly because of what they experienced here today. And I love it when Oda gives us just a little taste of this future story that we will probably never get to see. But from here we cut to Chopper Kaban's group, who still don't know about the Domiroversi weakness just yet, and so you have Kashi, one half of the famed Oimo and Kashi duo, very hesitant to attack his crewmates. And because Kashi won't attack, and because Copacabana is too injured, it actually falls to Chopper to do something about this. However, what happens here? It's a little bit weird. Chopper enters his monster form and attacks one of the giants, which does not deal a lethal blow, but apparently just knocks the Domiroversi right out of him? ? The giant even comments that he doesn't feel any pain, and it's almost as if Chopper was striking the demon rather than the giant. Interesting. So firstly, it's nice to see Chopper getting some action because for almost all of the post-time skip era, he's been reduced to medical support. And secondly, I'm not sure if I understand.
Because I forgot this creator's name. It's this creator on TikTok. He talks about how two of them, if I can, I'm talking to me as the editor. I'm talking to me to editor. I'm talking to me, the editor who's editing the video. Please find those two other TikTokers they broke down all of this, how Chopper is a god or a forest god, and how the fishes are each specific god. I love their videos. I really do. I watch them every time a new chapter comes out. But and the same as GrandLineReview. But the problem is, I want to be surprised. So I stopped watching them. I stopped watching the videos. So I'm just bringing out, and I know I'd say it's contradictive because we're watching this. It's just that I've been watching his videos. The people who I've been watching them for so long. I want to bring out with. I'm going to bring out along there with me. So for right now, I am reacting to videos that are reacting to channels that I liked throughout the years, and I'm reacting to their newest videos with y'all. And when y'all want to start suggesting videos, I'll watch them too. But I'm going off subject now. These two creators are incredible. I love their work. Whew. I wanted to get that on my chest.
Understand exactly what happened here. Nor does anyone in world, because everyone just kind of says, huh? I mean, this is good news, but still, huh? What's very clear is that this was not Chopper conducting a lethal attack. At this point, again, he still does not know that the giants turn back to normal as a result of lethal damage, and because he's a doctor, Chopper is only going to use the bare minimum force necessary. So the way it's drawn almost feels like a slap, a sort of come to your senses moment. And there's already a couple of very interesting theories about why this happened. One is that this could be an interaction caused by Chopper's devil fruit, the Hito Hito no Mi, the human fruit, often seen as a fairly horrendous ability, ranking at the bottom of almost every devil fruit list. However, what we should note is that Chopper is more than a regular human. His human ability was born from the imagination of someone or something that had a particular vision of humanity, at least according to Vegapunk's devil fruit theory. So Chopper's not necessarily a regular human, and so he could have special imaginary human properties. I know, it sounds dumb, but just stick with me. Magical fruit related or not, Emo appears to be a literal demon, and he can use that to transform others into demons. Meanwhile, Chopper is a magical human, and he may have the same ability to turn demons into humans, or to use his nature to otherwise expel demons to preserve that pure humanity. It could be
Do y'all think we're going to get a giant Chopper? Like, not like I'm talking about. I would say more Broggy and Dorian style giant. I'll say more like whoever that big ass island, with that hand. You know, when that hand was like reaching over in that Kobe episode or in that manga, that Kobe rescue arc. I guess that's an arc. I don't know. Where that Kobe rescue subplot. Because if One Piece is going how it's going, and if you take a look at fucking Loki, we can see that the giants is about to be big, and especially since the anime coming back. I heard it's coming back in the next 2 months, in a month. I don't know. Well, I heard it's coming back, and I gotta say, get ready for a ride. And we about to get a whole bunch of new anime fans from this. We're about to get the live action One Piece anime fans. They're coming in. They're coming in. They're not here yet, but once the anime comes out, they should be here. Then we got who else we got? We got the anime fans who had time to catch up with One Piece before they went on break. We got them. Now we got the anime fans who like to binge watch it. So now they're going from episode 1 all the way up to whatever 1,000 episodes we had done. So we got, I wouldn't say it's a lot, but it's more, it's a mini-sized fan base, or mini-sized horde of fans coming into the One Piece community. I know I sound like a fucking nerd or a one-line weird nigga when I say that. Anime community. Well, that's what they call it, so we got new fans coming in.
Would be an
Extension of awakening his devil fruit, or if Oda really wants to milk this poor fruit cow, then it could be that Chopper is actually a mythical Zoan, you know, like everyone else, and he has some sort of special counter to this sort of thing. And thematically, I should say that Chopper does have a history with this sort of thing. Back on Thriller Bark, Chopper was disgusted with how Gecko Moria was reanimating bodies with the shadows of other people, and even though these weren't demonic, both the shadows and the bodies were human components, Chopper still claims that Dr. Hogback had warped humanity and was no longer treating them like humans. And what Hogback said is actually quite interesting to look back on in the context of this chapter. He stated that it was the eternal dream of man to revive the dead, and to discover the mechanism of being able to bring anyone back to life. He's enamored with this in the same sort of way that the Giants are enamored with the power of Domi Reversi, and how they're describing it in the beginning of this chapter. And to Hogback, Chopper replied, "Human beings need more than that to be free." And we do have a much more recent example of this to do with Chopper, and I want you to cast your minds back to the raid on Onigashima. Do you remember all of the Ice Oni stuff? I don't blame you if you've put that out of your mind, but what Queen developed was a Domi Reversi style virus.
It not only
Your business is brimming with potential, and U.S. Bank can help harness it. Our experts work with you to develop custom banking.
Imagine you have cable, and instead of the show waiting for a moment where they have a pause scene, then go to commercial. Imagine if we had commercials and they just came out of nowhere. It's like a minute into an episode, commercial. 5 minutes later, commercial. 10 minutes later, commercial. 1 minute, commercial. 30 seconds, commercial. That's what YouTube is now.
It not only froze victims, but also made them grow horns, fangs, and claws, and it is almost boringly similar to Domi Reversi, and it was Chopper's role during the raid to find a cure for this virus, which also had afflicted him. Now I promise that this is going somewhere. But a big part of this plot thread was the struggle to obtain the antibodies that Queen had developed, which Chopper eventually did, and he created an adorable gas variant called Chopperphage that was able to cure the entire performance flaw, including Chopper himself. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that, and remember that this is fictional science, not real science, but perhaps Chopper's body is still producing these antibodies, and that his strike on this giant here is somehow passing them on and has cured the Domi Reversi in the same way that Queen developed the cure to the Isomies. In which case we would actually have Queen to thank for a potential solution to our problems on Elbaf, but I think I like the medical idea more than the Devil Fruit theory, just because it does tie into Chopper's minimal, but definitely relevant post-time skip plot. Either way, we know it has to be something along one of those two lines, because otherwise Goldie Roger and Monkey D. Garp, they're gonna feel pretty silly when they realize that Rox could have been saved by giving him a gentle slap on the noggin. So we're gonna figure that out later, but for now we have a catch-up with Team Sanji, who have rather hilariously dismembered Saint Killian. He's been cut into 3 pieces, and this does seem to be a pretty effective strategy, and it's a very classic strategy as well. This is how Buggy was beaten way back during Archtown. And in the background of this panel, you can see Zeus getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because Nami is feeding him his favorite food, the little black balls. And in this chapter, Nami said that this is so that Zeus can keep making rain to put all the fires out. However, I think that Oda may be setting something up here, because Zeus is also being gradually powered up. All he needs is a weather egg, I believe, and he will become the most colossal thundercloud. And so Nami essentially has a charged weapon ready to go.
With that egg, he just said the weather egg. So would that egg be the egg that's on Shanks' ship. Maybe.
Just in case we need it. But Nami's greatest weapon has never been anything weather-related. It is that special power she has to put even an Emperor of the Sea in his place, which we see in this chapter when Luffy, Loki, and Ragnar reunite with this group. And Nami just goes off at them, and justifiably so, I think. Because sure, Loki did get rid of a lot of the nightmare creatures with some very impressive boom big bangs, but because he is so insanely powerful, he is causing tremendous damage at the same time. It reminds me a bit of Whitebeard. His ability was said to be able to quite literally destroy the world, and so Whitebeard had to be very careful and very strategic about how he used that power. However, Loki doesn't have those same concerns. Remembering that the first time we met him, Loki claims that he was going to destroy the world. So everything happening here is just Loki making good on what he said, which is making Nami's job of putting the fires out a lot harder. So she yells at not only Luffy, but also Loki and Ragnar, and this leads to my favorite One Piece panel in recent history, with Luffy looking like a child whose mother has just scolded him, and Ragnar consoling him. I just love the way that Oda has drawn Luffy, emphasizing his innate childishness, but also I think this may have been done for contrast, because on the last 2 pages of this chapter, we see Luffy at the most serious we have ever seen him in Gear 5th. And one of Oda's standard techniques to make dramatic moments hit a bit harder is to set them up by priming us with the opposite emotional extreme. He will very often punctuate a serious or dramatic event with a joke to disarm us, to make us take down our barriers before hitting us full force with whatever emotion it is he wants us to feel. And that's what he's done here with Luffy. We get this wacky, funny, clearly childish Luffy, so that his serious face at the end of this chapter, I don't know, it hit me pretty hard at least. And it's very welcome to see, actually. It feels quite nostalgic, like a return to pre-Gear 5th Luffy. We'll get to that though, because after being yelled at by Nami, Loki also lashes out at Luffy and attacks him with a blast of lightning, which obviously does nothing because it's Luffy. And this is quite a comical moment, but I do wonder if Oda is setting the stage for an actual Luffy versus Loki fight. Historically, the Sun God and the War God, they had some troubles, shall we say, and this is a history that Imu very likely knows, and he may very well also know how to exploit that and turn them against one another. So this could be giving us a taste of what's to come, with Loki gaining an important piece of information about Luffy's immunity to lightning. However, the best moment of the chapter for me definitely belongs to Usopp. This is exactly what I've been waiting for, as we have an Usopp and Brook team up against Imunko. And I do wonder if Oda purposely planned this, because this is very similar to what happened with Usopp in Season 2 of the live action which released last week, where he challenged Mr. Five and Miss Valentine to an honorable Elbathian duel, accusing Baroque works of cowardice and etc. And so this moment lines up pretty damn perfectly with the release of Season 2, and I love Usopp's speech because in essence, he's not saying that you shouldn't conquer and that exerting your will is bad because it's bad and not very good. None of that. What he's saying is, mate, if you're gonna conquer, actually conquer. Fight them head on and defeat them like a warrior. And at this moment, Usopp is taking a stand against someone who is effectively a god. We have a situation where the weakest person on the island is facing off against potentially the strongest. And Ima does something quite interesting here. I'm a big fan of this. He says that a ruler never sullies their own hands, and he then proceeds to use Gunko's hand to block Usopp's attack, emphasizing that point. Imu isn't using his own hands, he's sullying Gunko's hands by proxy, whilst Imu himself is still sitting pretty all the way up at the Holy Land. But I love this for Usopp, and I do think that this is our Usopp Elbaf moment ticked off the bingo board. I know that this might seem underwhelming.
That's it. That's not enough.
Whoa. Mama Gorgon 85
That's
hurts
not
here?
enough.
Yep. That's my mom.
If that's his one moment, that's not enough. That is not enough. For what that nigga be doing and him bullshitting his way up, that's not even enough to appease me. Oh, fuck everybody else. That's not even enough to appease me for the bullshit he be out in the water selling. That's not enough. Sorry. I'm just saying, it's like, Okay, good. You stood up to the big bag. You stood up to the big bag, but that's all you did. You didn't. I don't. Of course, I'm not reading the manga. Of course, I'm watching the manga of what his opinion is on it. But I'm just saying, it's like that's all he did. But he gets his points for standing up.
I know that this might seem underwhelming, but I've said this many times before. I never expected him to pull out some power-up and defeat a whole...
And I don't want no power-up. I wanted like a whole arc. Not him. I would say him being... Water 7... Well, like this. Water 7 is, for me, out of my history of watching One Piece, Water 7 is the only arc where I see Luffy and Usopp in the front row. Like there have been arcs where Luffy, Sanji are in the front row. Luffy and Nami, Luffy and Robin, Luffy and Chopper. For each arc or saga of One Piece, how often or which crew member does Luffy hang with the most? Matter of fact, at each island they went to, who does Luffy hang with the most?
And I mean, look, maybe he still will. I don't know. Probably not. But what I was looking for was just one moment of sheer bravery in a dire situation. Something where Usopp was prepared to lose his life on principle, and that is exactly what he gave me here. When confronted with the god of the world, he did not run. He stayed and he fought. Now, with that said, I do have one very minor complaint about this, which is that I think Oda might be getting a bit too confident in how much of the story he thinks he's able to tell off screen. Because I don't know about anyone else, but I was really shocked to even see Usopp here with Brook, considering that in the last chapter he was with Sanji's group in a completely different area. And he didn't say that he was heading off to go and help Brook or find Brook or anything. He was just standing there like, oh, losing his mind. So reading this made me feel like I'd missed a chapter, because suddenly Usopp is now teleported to Brook out of nowhere and he's heavily injured. It felt really clunky to me, and this is not the first time that something like this has happened during Elbaf specifically. And I hope that Oda doesn't do this too much more in the future. I know it seems like a very minor complaint, and man, on the internet, who cares? But I assure you, if this becomes a trend and this starts happening more, and Oda keeps skipping this connective tissue, you will care because the story will gradually stop making sense. That's why I'm wondering if Oda did this to line up with the release of the live action, because Season 2 is all about Usopp, and perhaps he didn't quite hit his deadline properly, and so he just had to skip the connective tissue and go straight to this planned moment in order to make it happen. Like how he rushed the end of Wano to make sure that Shanks appeared just in time for the release of Film Red. Regardless, this chapter concludes with Luffy, Loki, and Ragnar arriving and moment in order to make it happen. Like how he rushed the end of Wano to make sure that Shanks appeared just in time for the release of Film Red.
He rushed into Wano for Film Red.
And what we have here is potentially three gods gathering for the first time in centuries. Luffy sees Usopp and Brook having been injured, and he's pretty damn angry. Very unusually so for the Gear 5th form. But instead of addressing Luffy or Loki, he moves...
I understand that it's coming out like a month, like a sub channel or something. But it's me, I was like, I want those moments to be like later on stories. Take right now. The first season of WWE on the Real could have been great, or could have been one of the greatest moments. We wonder what happened back then. You go back, how we do now. We go back and listen to times we didn't know that, because like I said, they keep it on the wraps. But nowadays, stuff just getting spoiled, stuff be getting let out, everything. I forgot my whole brain process.
Regardless, this chapter concludes with Luffy, Loki, and Ragnar arriving, and what we have here is potentially 3 gods gathering for the first time in centuries. Luffy sees Usopp and Brook having been injured, and he's pretty damn angry. Very unusually so for the Gear 5th form. But instead of addressing Luffy or Loki, Imu calls them Nika and Nidhogg, which is very cool, as Imu sees both of them as reincarnations of these historical figures, and if Imu does keep calling Luffy Nika, we will probably have a moment where Luffy snaps, he gets annoyed, and does the classic, nah mate, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, and I'm gonna be the king of the pirates. But they're all now face to face, and Imu is predicting that should a fight break out right here and now, then it will divide the world. And we are getting quite serious now, so it's a very, honestly, frustrating place to end the chapter on, because I just want to see more. But more is what next week is for, and you let me know what your thoughts are about the chapter in the comments below.
This is going to end early. I promise you, this is going to end early. Because if y'all remember, I can keep on saying, all this happened on Elbaf. And if I'm right about this, Elbaf is Shanks's territory. So I guarantee you, Shanks is probably coming back into that island. I will be surprised if they leave this island and Shanks is not there. Like either as they're leaving or before they leave. I can see Shanks coming before Luffy leaves. Now I can also see, but I don't want to see them leave and Shanks pulls up. I don't want to see that. Because I feel like I kind of feel like this is the moment where we get our training between I feel like if Shanks come there, this is their training arc. Like they just had a big battle, but then they got rid of us. Oh, we gotta get stronger. So that means Shanks is about to come around and train them. Then they gonna go and fight. I'm gonna say they go and fight the world government. To which then Shanks go fight Blackbeard. Whoever comes out on top on that fight is just over there. Well, the short hairs go and fights the world government. Then I'm gonna just say Blackbeard because I feel like he gonna kill off Shanks. Blackbeard goes to Blackbeard hears about Luffy going against the world government. Then after that, I'm gonna say since White Blackbeard is gonna watch as they fight each other. Luffy and his pirate crew, his whole pirate alliance, and the whole all of Luffy allies and the whole revolutionary army gonna come for that war. And at the end of that war, the Blackbeard pirates are gonna come in, then another war is gonna break out. You know what, I'm gonna say the revolutionary pirates, they gonna die in that war. And that's how I'm gonna go down for my idea off the top of my head. But now I like the video, and go watch the video. I've been watching his videos for a long time. I finally sat down and reacted to one, even though we did have a few interruptions. So a great 10 out of 10 video. See y'all later. Leave for good words after. Goodbye. I was about to throw this at you, but I don't want to throw it at you. So, bye.
Roses are red. Put that ass on me. That's the end of the poem, bitch.